Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We have Dr. Kirk Elliott back with us to talk about the silver markets and the precious metal markets overall. Thanks for joining us again, Dr. Elliott. And what are your thoughts on what's going on?
I mean, literally some of the most exciting and volatile times like that we're seeing. But let's go back to last week. So Christmas. So on Christmas, again, like what happened on Thanksgiving, markets were closed and COMEX decided, there's a cooling tower issue. We're going to halt trading, right? So on Christmas, you look at the volume of silver that was traded. Very low volume, very few participants, because when somebody wants to do something, you like do something with the prices, you do it on a day where there's not much volume because it doesn't take an awful lot to make something happen, right? So you're looking at what happened, and literally silver had jumped from 72, I think, to 75 to 85. It's like literally it shot through the roof. And then all of a sudden, in 70 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes, it came down 11%. It was like all the way down to 75 again. And it's like, what is going on? Right? So you look at this and you think, okay, somebody's playing games with something, because that's an extreme day, like nothing we've ever seen. And you look at the financial news media, it's like, oh, the bull market's over, it's done. This is excessive. This is the pullback. No, it's not. You know how I know that this isn't the end of a bull market, but it was just a day of somebody doing something, some funny business, is because of supply and demand. You have low supply, high demand, prices will always go up. That didn't change. So when you see days like this, I view it as a buying opportunity. Well, here's the thing. You know who viewed it as a buying opportunity? China. So in America, you had all this panic selling as it came down 11% in one day. And I can't say the same term for China. On the flip side, it wasn't panic buying. It was an absolute heist, is what I think. Wow. Yeah. I mean, because the silver came down, China wasn't paying. So as the price of silver came down, there was a lot of people selling into that, right? It's like, oh, we got to get out, right? So there was inventory. What did China do? China was paying premiums of like $16 an ounce. They were paying $91 an ounce for physical silver, but it was 75 on COMEX. It's like, why would anybody do that, right? So here's why. It's because they need it, right? Nobody would pay that much unless they actually need physical silver. So you look at what's going to happen. Today is the 31st, tomorrow, right? So tomorrow, China puts export controls on silver to the rest of the world. You have to have a government license to receive silver from China as of tomorrow. So, but for years, China as a government has been encouraging their citizens to hoard gold and silver. Well, all of a sudden, they did an about face. It's like, ooh, hoarding is bad. You don't want to do this, right? And blah, blah, blah. Why would they do that? Because they need silver. So a lot of people were saying, and, I've watched a bajillion podcasts, and it's like, oh, China's going to limit exports of silver to the rest of the world as an attack against Trump's tariffs. Right? They're ticked about Trump's tariffs, so they're going to stop exports. That's not it. I don't think that's it. They're stopping exports because they need it to stay in the country. So why do they need it to stay in the country? Because of the new demand that's coming. So remember, Michael, when this was maybe you can remember better than me, was it 9 months ago? We talked about Samsung and their new solid state silver core battery technology.
Oh, amazing. Yep.
I mean, literally, it's going to be incredible. For the electric vehicle market, it's going to double the range, take the charging time from like 12 hours down to 9 minutes for a full charge, and it'll last 20 years. It's like, what EV, when we talked about this, what EV manufacturer is not going to want that new battery technology, right? So, or else they're going to be out of existence when other car manufacturers can do that. Because that's one of the pains of electric vehicles. It's like you can't take a long road trip with it. It takes forever to charge a dumb thing and blah, blah, blah. So the estimates came out last week. When Samsung releases this now, which is coming up very soon, it's going to be 20% of all global mining supply every year goes to Samsung. So here's the problem with Samsung. London is out of silver. They're out. They don't have enough for physical delivery. So just as we talked about as a projected story of how this story ends, you're going to have manufacturers all over the world, whether it's Sony or Elon Musk at Tesla, that are going to start going directly to the refineries and bypassing the stupid exchanges. Because if I were Elon Musk, it's like, well, it's not my fault that London oversold their inventory, that they have over 300 ounces of paper contracts for every 1 ounce of physical delivery, and how they're overextended and they're over leveraged and now they can't deliver. I have a car company. I need to manufacture. I need physical silver. So we speculated that they're just going to start going directly to the refineries and bypass the dumb exchanges altogether, which makes London completely irrelevant, right? So what did Samsung do? So I think it was a week and a half ago, they made this like field trip to Durango, Mexico, and they dealt directly with the mine. Then short up 2 years of supply for their new solid core silver state battery, right? So it's like, okay, this is wild. So they did exactly what we thought. Now, last week, the news came out about another car manufacturer. So I'm going to ask you this question because I didn't know the answer. I want to see if you do. Have you ever heard of the company BDY?
I've never heard of it, no.
Me neither. It's like, but they're the largest electric vehicle manufacturer in the world.
Wow.
They just happen to be a Chinese EV manufacturer, and there's billions of people in China. So it's like the Tesla of China, but they're massive. Like they're big. So they have already been working on a solid silver core solid state battery for their electric vehicles to give it over 1,000-mile range, charging in 9 minutes, 20-year life. So theirs is so much in R&D that they're releasing this thing in all their vehicles in June of 2026. So to me, when I hear that, Samsung was 1.5 to 2 years out, right? So they were already working on it. Samsung was probably just responding to that. It's like, we got to get in this race too. So now BDY, because they're so big, is going to take 20% of all the world's mined silver every year. Samsung 20%. In two companies, you've got 40% of all the world's silver supply. I mean, this is insane. There's not going to be enough, right? There's simply not going to be enough. So I look at this, and with silver at these crazy high levels, and people are calling me every day and saying, Kirk, A, I should have done this a long time ago, but B, I'm not going to buy at these absolute highs. It's like, why do you think it's an absolute high, right? Do you know what the future is going to look like? Because people were saying the same thing about gold 4 months ago. Oh, I'm not going to buy at the high. I've always been told by my advisor, you buy low and sell high, and you never buy at the high. Well, what is gold now? Almost every single day after 4 months ago, it keeps reaching new highs, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the high. It was just a day in this massive growth trend.
Right.
And so silver, even after its last 2 days have been pretty, well, yesterday was just all over the place. And it closed, it's opened at like 78 and it closed at 75. And today it's like almost 74, right? So it's a 73 point something. So it's like, okay, that's cut down a few bucks in a day. So use it as a buying opportunity because this isn't a high. I think we're going to see with all this new demand coming out, this and little supply. I mean, there's like hardly anything, Michael. What Thanksgiving showed us was there's no supply at COMEX or in London. And what Christmas showed us is something even wilder. There's like possibly no supply anywhere, which is why China needs it because they can't even fulfill production. And so they're paying $16 premium over spot to get silver because they need it. So as I look at this, it's like my estimates of 120 to 140 by late spring, early summer, possibly an understatement of the year, possibly. Right, but I think we possibly hit 200 by the end of next year. And if this plays out with all this new demand and like no supply, even 200 is going to be small because manufacturers will pay anything humanly possible to make sure that they stay in business. And we're not talking about small manufacturers. We're talking about NVIDIA and Tesla and this big, massive car company and Samsung and Sony and Lockheed Martin and Boeing. They will pay almost anything, right? Because they're just going to pass it on to the consumer.
And the solar cells, I mean, we're not even talking solar cells, and that's a huge market in India and in China. So it's pretty amazing. I remember when a couple of years ago we were talking about this, and you were like, we're saying, yeah, we're probably going to see triple digits in the future. And then you kind of like shifted because you started seeing all these numbers, and you started upping your estimate. I think it's going to be pretty substantial. And if you look at all of the precious metals that are out there, they're all well over $1,000, $2,000, an ounce. Why isn't silver that high? I think it's going to hit that. What are your thoughts?
Boy, if we do, I will be the happiest guy in the world.
I agree. You will be.
And our tens of thousands of clients all over the country, they're going to be happy, right? So, but here's where these numbers might not be extreme,
right?
Because we've never entered a world. So let's go back to 1980, right? When silver was spiking, the Hunt brothers had cornered the market, government changed the rules, and they had to go bankrupt, right? So people are comparing today. Oh, there's going to be government intervention on the price, and they're going to change margin requirements, and it's going to be the Hunt brothers all over again. It's like, no, it's not. I'll tell you this right now. It is not going to be that, because what were the Hunt brothers? It was pure speculation. It was speculators running that time. This one is actually physical demand. There is lack of physical silver, and the world needs it for just about everything. This is why a week ago, Elon Musk posted this X post where he said, oh, look at the price of silver. This is very dangerous for the world. This because it's getting up too high and everything needs silver, right? So, and he knows that with SpaceX heavily in electronics, with Tesla heavily in electronics, all the robotics that they do, everything that he produces needs silver, right? So you just look at some of this stuff and it's like, this is what China did was a heist. They gobbled up all the available physical silver that they could when the price was driven down because of panic selling in America. And the next day goes up a few bucks. Today it's like sitting there, it's down some, but our projections in January when silver was $28.50, and we talked about this probably a dozen times, maybe even more over the year. What's it going to be at the end of the year? 67 to 75. Well, we ended up at like 73, right in there. And people thought we were crazy for saying it was going to get that high because silver ended up the year, I think, at 160% growth for the year, 160%. And gold wasn't too shabby either. It was up like 65%. It was like, this is amazing, right? You look at this, both of those are doing so well because this is a paradigm shifting moment, right? In the global economy, as central banks are looking at what's value and what's not. Consumers are looking at that. People want safety. They want something that's real. Well, what's safer than investing? And I'll tell you what's safer. Nothing is safer than this. What's safer than buying the commodity that the whole world needs and there's none of it? It's like,
yeah,
can't think of anything safer.
We're seeing also, I mean, we talked about this as well, when we start to see people lining up in America, because they've already done this in other places of the world, for silver in silver shops. And I see it online. I follow all these guys, and people are lined up at the door buying silver and gold now in massive quantities. I saw some guy come in and I think he spent like $170,000 for silver and gold. So we're going to see, this thing explode, but that's not going to last much longer because, silver, all the precious metals took a nosedive because there's a lot of pressure on it because it went so high so fast. They got to take a little break. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to see the ups and downs. We talked about this, but all the online dealers, they did not lower their prices at all.
No. You know why? Because they're selling out of their own inventory. So we don't. We deal directly with the depository. We drop ship from there. So then we're going to have active prices every single second, just depending on what the markets are. When you're selling out of your own inventory, let's say you bought in silver at $80 an ounce, 2 days before. What are you going to do? Are you going to sell it for a loss, or are you just going to hose the clients that come in? No, you're probably going to hose the next clients that came in and say, oh, boy, the demand is really high right now, so the premiums are sticky. It's like, no, they're not. You just don't want to lose money, and you're going to stick it to the next person that calls you to buy. I mean, that's how the industry basically operates.
Yeah, and so waiting also, like we've talked about, for silver to go down or other precious metals for that matter, you're probably not going to get it. So I know a lot of people are like, well, when it goes down, I'll buy. You better get on board right now while you can. We talked about this, when it hit 50, get in and get on. And people are, it went down like it's doing right now. And they're whining because they're like, you told us to get on now, it's lower. It's like, don't worry, it's going to go much higher. So now we're like, we hit 80, almost 85. And that was my range. I said 75 to 85 by the end of the year. We've already hit it. So it's pretty amazing. I say next year, early part of next year, we could be seeing $100 easy.
Oh, easy. I mean, literally easy. If we didn't have this little correction, because I think China is absolutely manipulating the broadcast airwaves right now. And if you look on YouTube and on these different podcasts and you see Asian guy.
Yeah.
I mean, so where did he come from? He wasn't even a thing 3 weeks ago.
When I heard him at first, I was like, who's that American guy that's talking? And then it was an Asian guy. I was like, oh, whoa, what's going on here?
It's so AI. I mean, it's just weird. It's just weird. Yeah. But anyways, he's done video after video after video, like every day or every 2 days, like clockwork. And people are calling me all the time. It's like
multiple a day.
Oh, he's referencing this bill that Trump signed that's going to actually confiscate silver because it's on the critical minerals list. It's like, wait a second. This bill, it was an education bill from 2024. It's not a climate bill that has anything to do with anything. Making stuff up, right? Yes. So, but some of the stuff is actually really good that I hear from him, right? So here's where you have to use wisdom and discernment and, not believe everything that you hear, right? So I was doing some research on this guy, and it seems to be that it's just Chinese propaganda, right? They need to manipulate the price of silver because they don't have it. Well, what is this guy saying? It's like, so you can't store anything at the depository. Boy, why would you ever want bullion? It's confiscatable. Here's my suggestion. You take all of your bullion that you paid hardly anything for, and you send it to PCGS to get it certified as a rare coin for $30 an ounce. It's like, what? That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard, to certify bullion, because then it's going to be collectible. And don't ever do that. Don't listen to nonsense like that. That's by somebody trying to get more bullion because they need it for manufacturing, or it's done by some dealer that's using stupid, shady tactics that says, oh, you got to have something that's rare and collectible, so it's non-confiscatable. It's like, you know what? The government can confiscate whatever they want, whenever they want, because they're the government, right? It has nothing to do with something as rare or bullion. Don't ever overpay for your stuff. Don't ever overpay for it, right? And don't ever get something where a firm has to make a market for it to sell it. Like what we talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking about, the gold grift book, right? Yeah. So some of these firms And that's a fantastic book, by the way. I encourage everybody to read it. You will learn.
I got it. I'm reading it. It's a great book. Yeah.
It's wild and it's disgusting. I mean, the stories that are told by some of the dealers in this industry, disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, you know, when
so that's what I love about you. You have a degree in economics and you have a degree in theology. So you're on the up and up. So that's what I love. You know, everyone watching you is like, you're not going to get taken advantage of here. You're going to actually get I know for a fact, we talked offline before in the past, that you have gone out of your way to protect people within this business. So kudos to you.
Yeah. I mean, well, and so here's the thing with that. I don't view, like when you invest, Michael, it's not my money. I don't even think it's your money. I think it's God's money, and we're all called to be steward with what God gives us. So if you want to take advantage of somebody, okay, you're not dealing with their money, you're dealing with God's money. It's like, I wouldn't want to touch that with a 1,000-foot pole and do something bad with it, right? But I can't put my judgments and my views on other people because they don't think like I do. But that's how I think. You know, it's just who I am. It's part of who I am. So if you dealt with everybody in life that you're dealing with God's money, the whole world would change. You wouldn't have as much corporate greed and corruption and everything, right? It's just like, boy, the love of money, it makes people do bad things, right? So anyways, I don't mean to get off on a rabbit trail, but some of these
that's a good point. For the love of money. So you're not loving money, it's God's money, and you're basically like the biblical story where the father sent the sons out with money, and several of them came back, they had doubled it or tripled it or whatever. And then the one son said, "Here, I bring it all back to you. I buried it and hid it." And he was like, "What are you thinking about?" So this is what you're doing, is basically teaching people how to take God's money and prosper with it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the verse that so many people take out of context, money is not evil. The love of money is evil. You can do amazing good things with money. You can give, you can be benevolent with it. You can do lots of stuff, right? But the love of money means that money controls you rather than you controlling money as a tool, right? So, I mean, it's just different. It's a different mindset. It's a heart issue, right? So yeah, we take that in everything we do. It's this common thread that goes through everything that we do. And I will consult with people. It's like, don't be too tight-fisted with your money. Have an open hand. Be givers. Be generous, and just watch how the world around you starts to change.
Yeah,
it's an amazing thing.
I want to kind of go along the same line of thought. Empty tables, sanctions, battered currency. Why Iran's protests are different this time? So we're seeing pretty much the collapse, and it is going to happen. The collapse of the Iranian Islamists. And controlling Iran. Now and they're taking over cities right now. The people are. So here is another one where in Iran they have the largest increase in Christianity anywhere in the world over the last 20 years. So what are your thoughts on that? So we're seeing a collapse of their currency, like we're talking about. We don't want to have that happen here in America, but we're seeing it collapse there because there's some very serious questions we need to be asking about the Muslim religion. But Christianity is on the uprise, and now the people are basically taking back their country. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's the beginning of a revival, so to speak. I think around the world, God is opening the eyes of people's hearts, if that makes sense, right? And they're starting to understand and dissect the difference between truth and fiction, right? And they're starting to understand what true love means, right? In the sense of love your neighbor, right? It's like, what does that mean? It just means don't focus on how you're different. Focus on what you have in common. View everybody, and this is my prayer for all of us, is that we would view people the way that God viewed them when he created them, right? Not the way that man views them or woman views them, right? It's like, how does God view people? Well, he views them differently than we view people, right? And it's like, and so I think all over the globe, God is taking the spiritual blinders off of people and opening the eyes of their heart so they can see truth. And truth always acts as a magnet to pull people towards it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And here's an account where it says Iran has perhaps the fastest growing Christian population in the world. Elam Ministries, a group which seeks to strengthen and expand the church there, says that more Iranians have become Christians in the last 20 years than the previous 13 centuries combined.
My word. Wow.
Wow. So it is obviously going to have a massive impact. Now, I've been all over the Middle East. I spent half of my 35 years in CIA and also in the SEAL teams at the highest levels. And I can tell you, every time that the Muslims came in force, they basically drove the Christians out. I think that's going to reverse now. What are your thoughts on that?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, literally, when God starts moving, things just happen that don't make sense in the physical realm, but they make all the sense in the spiritual realms, right? And so, like, there's stories in the Old Testament, God make the sun stand still, right? How could small dinky armies, win and defeat big massive armies? Well, with God's intervention, that can happen. How could David, a shepherd boy with a slingshot, kill Goliath? Right? It's like, what? How did that happen? Right? Well, it's because when God is for you, who can be against you? Right? So I think these things that are starting to happen are happening for a reason. They're happening for such a time as this. Now, what we have to ask ourselves is, why did God place us here on this earth for right now? Why didn't he create us 400 years ago or 400 years from now? Why are we here right now? It's because we all have a purpose. We all have a calling. We need to understand what that is, whether that's to impact your neighbor or the country or the world. But really, it comes with being transformed. Transformed people can transform cities, right? So I would take heed to that calling and that inner voice that's just, speaking to you all the time, and starting to have that, even if it's a gentle whisper, drown out the noise of the world so you can be everything that God created you for, right? Yes, and we are here for this. We're here for such a time as this, right?
Beautiful.
So figure that out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So great conversation today. And of course, we always encourage people to, go to your website, kepm.com, to, get the best deals on silver and gold, because we're moving in that direction where, I think we're like a little around 50, getting close to 50 to 1 now. And I think it's going to go a lot lower very quickly, a lot lower. Yeah. So that's kind of the transition where we take our silver and start to accumulate some more gold. So definitely jump in. There's contact information on here, of course, 720-605-3900. Be sure to tell them that Jaco sent you. And we look forward to doing more of these shows together. Dr. Kirk Elliott, thanks so much for your insights.
You bet. Happy New Year.